Thank you very much. It's a nice welcome. There's probably a few of you that saw us this morning. We did a little starter, and that went quite well. As you've just heard, this afternoon I'm going to do spooking. We're going to look at spooking. Just to give you a quick rundown about who I am first before we get going. Basically, I run a starting and training yard down in Kent. I am based in the UK, although it does say Australian horsemanship on me. That's just the name of my business. And basically, I'm using principles that I've learned from home, basically, passed down through my family. And also, I've seen some really good Australian horse people. And hopefully, this afternoon, I'll be able to show you a few little things that might help you on that dreaded bin day, or with the umbrellas, or with those sorts of problems. Now, just before we get going, I want you guys to understand what spooking is. Now, spooking, before we can fix it, it's very important that we understand what it is and what happens, the mechanics of a spook. Now, it's quite simple, really. Spooking, same with most problems with horses, is basically your horse dropping their shoulder. Okay, so that is something that you need to be looking for in this demonstration, your horse dropping the shoulder. So it's important to know what that is and how it works. For a horse to drop their shoulder, you'll see them prepare first. And sometimes their back end will start to creep sideways, they'll get all crooked, and then suddenly the shoulder's disappeared and you're, where's my horse gone type thing, standing on mid-air. Okay? So that's the mechanics of a spook. You've got to look at the shoulder and the hind end more than anything else. And I'm going to show you a few little exercises to fix that. Also, there's different types of spook, or different types of spooky horses. You'll get the horse that goes along, and occasionally you'll be riding quite a good, nice, quiet horse. They'll have a little look, what's that? And then they're back to normal, on they go. The best thing to do with those horses is ignore it. As a matter of fact, the best thing to do with most spooky objects when you're riding a horse is ignore it. If you don't make an issue out of it, chances are neither will the horse the next time round. So that is first and foremost, ignore it. Just keep going, okay? As your horse gets more experience, they're not going to worry about those things. So that's number one, that's that horse. Sometimes you'll get a horse that does get a fright, generally not too spooky, but when they get a fright, boy, oh boy, you're on the other side of the arena. Okay, now that is something that we need to look at, to fix, and there's where we need to actually do something. We can't ignore that. We have to sort that. So we're going to look at that. And the last horse, well, I'm sure there's lots of variations of this, but the last one that I'm going to look at is that horse that is constantly looking for something. You're riding along, and the ears are over there, they're trying to find something to look at. And we're going to look at that as well. So they're the main sort of spooky things, or the main sort of spooky types of horses, and it's the way horses move with their shoulders and hind end tells you whether it's a spook or not. So we're going to run through some exercises, the first of which is going to be actually on the ground. And I want you to see, as I go through, there is a definite progression when we do this. So we'll start with our first exercise. Now, I'll start with the bag first, I think. No, the big one. Whoa, what have I got here for you, my boy? Okay, so now as was said in the intro, I don't know whether you heard, but Stanley came and a big thank you to Gillian. Where are you, Gillian? There she is in the front row. This is Gillian's lovely horse. I love this horse. And she's been kind enough to lend him to me today to do this demonstration. Now, I did come across Stanley, I don't know, 6 months ago, a year ago, a while ago anyway, and he came to me because he was very nervous, dropped Gillian once or twice, and had a bit of a habit of throwing his toys out. Okay, because he carried too much tension. So I have already worked with this horse before, but we're up to another level of training now. We've now got to get him to deal with competition environments and the spooky objects that are around. So the first thing I might do is give this a wave. Now, the first thing Stan did then was jump away. When he jumped away, his hind end went away from me, and he's back looking at me. Now, this is a very important thing to be able to teach a horse to do. This is control. Okay? That horse that bolted across the arena, if you can't get them to look at an object, then you're not going to be able to stop that horse from bolting across the arena. So let's see what happens again if I go, oh, this has happened. Stanley's jumped away. When he comes back and looks at me, I'll say, look, it's all right. Now, this point in time, when he is looking at me, he's having a break and thinking, okay, I jumped away. I'm trying to look at this from a horse's point of view. That thing jumped out at me. I jumped away. But when I jumped away, I came back to him, and actually, it's not bad here. He seems all right, this guy. Maybe he's got a few answers. Okay, so we'll do that again. There he goes. He's looked at me again and said, is this what you want me to do? I say, yeah, it is. Look, good boy. That's all right. Okay, give him a little bit of a second. Have a little think. Now, reflection time is very important. This is when he's learning. When I'm actually doing stuff, I'm teaching him. But when he's stopped doing nothing, he is learning, and that's very important. So if you want a horse to get better, you need to let them learn. Let them stand for a second. Okay, give it a little bit of a wave around. There he goes. He's turned and looked at me again. Now, this is really interesting for me because Stanley's had this sort of stuff done to him before. I know because I've had to do all this just to get him quiet to ride. But in this environment, it's all gone south a little bit. He's suddenly become reactive. And this is the power of the environment. So we have to factor this in. There, that was better. He's just walked casually that way. Well, rather than jump and be reactive, he's walked casually sideways. Okay, say good boy. Okay, let's try again this side. And I'm going from left to right. There he goes. Is that what you want me to do? Look at it. Yeah. Okay, little rub. And we'll start to just up the intensity. I think he's starting to get the idea a little bit now. So now I can, and he's starting to focus on me as well. And this is key. Okay, if a horse focuses on you, they're much less likely to be spooky. And this was an interesting thing that Gillian said to me. When I first got Stanley, he was definitely not a spooky horse. And do you know why? The reason he wasn't spooky is because when you were riding him, he was fixed on you. He was so focused on me. Not in a good way, in a, Christ, what are you going to do to me type way. And therefore, he didn't see anything else, anything of the environment. He never knew what existed. He was so busy watching me. And now he's starting to relax a little bit. Gillian said he's starting to sort of notice things and chuck in the odd little spook here and there. And that's because he's relaxing with the rider. So now it's time to teach him to be more on the aids. Okay? But I need to teach him to deal with the environment. So now he's going sideways. I'll just keep it going just for a second and see if he'll just stop. Okay, should he decide to leave me and run away, okay, I'm just doing the same thing, just waving up and down. Wait for it. There it is. Okay, and then we'll stop. Let him have a little think about that. Okay. Let's try the other side. What you do to one side, you must always do to the other. Okay, that's so important. That was pretty good. He held it. Only just. But he did hold it. I'll say, well done. Okay, good work. Let's try the other side again. It's moving away. Wait for him to find it. There it is, just about. We'll take that one. Little lick and a chew. That's a good sign as well. That tells me I think I'm starting to get this. I think I know where to go with this. We'll just keep it going just a second now. He's keeping his head on me, which is important. There, he just about stopped. Okay, here he comes again. There it is. Good boy. Okay, give him a little rub, say well done. So I'm starting to teach him that he doesn't need to run away from things. Actually, the answer might be to look at it, to face up to your fears, and that's a big thing for a horse to do, face their fears. Okay, if he turns and faces me again, that's fine. Good. Okay, a little bit of reflection. Starting to relax, starting to think about me. A little rub. And he stopped. I might even just get him to turn and face. Okay, good. One more time, and then we'll see how we go with the ridden stuff. He's not paying attention to me anymore, is he? He's looking into the audience, but I want him to pay attention to me. So, there you go, look at me. So he's starting to get a bit bored with this exercise, which is where I want him to be. I want him to get used to the environment, whatever the environment throws at him. Now, I'm going to call on a little bit of help. And we're going to start to bring this exercise into our ridden work. Okay, so whenever you're doing, when you start this exercise on the ground, the first thing to always remember is if they start to want to leave you and run, because they are flight animals, then you need to just get control. Get them to face up to you and show them that when they face you, whatever it is that's creating this fear will go away. So the answer always lies with you. So that's very, very important. Okay. Could you do the other stirrup, please, Tom? This is Tom. This is my assistant trainer. Can you do the other stirrup? Or the stirrup, yeah. My assistant trainer. He's going to help me with a few bits and pieces for this demonstration. Tom's a very capable young lad with all this sort of stuff now as well. He's been with me for over a year, nearly a year and a half now, which is all good. So now we're going to... Oh, there's a little bit of the old Stanley we know. We'll just give him a walk around and let him have a little bit of a think about this. This demonstration might turn into more than a spooking demonstration. Okay, again, this is what the environment will do. Okay, just let him have a little bit of a settle. A little look around. Okay, now what I'm going to ask Tom to do is exactly what I was doing from the ground. Okay. Now there we go. Ooh. Now, the moment Tom picked that bag up, okay, Stanley reacted by jumping. There's your spook. Okay, but what I want to see in this exercise is that he doesn't want to run away from it. He wants to face up to it. Now, I'll help him to do this. Okay, all right. So now he's going moving away again. Now I'm trying not to, he's going forward, so we'll turn him and we'll just say, have a look. Okay. There, good boy, have a little investigate. That's what we want to do. Get your horse to face up, have a little look at what's going on. Okay, so I might help him every now and again. If he looks like he's going to run away, then I'll do exactly what I did when I was on the ground. I'll turn his nose towards the scary object, and then Tom, and this is important when you're teaching horses, you need to be able to manage your environment. If Tom was to suddenly start waving the bag and kept waving the bag whatever Stanley did, well, Stanley will do whatever he has to get away from it, because I'll show him that's the right thing to do, but it keeps going. So it can't be the right thing, so I must have been right the first time. I'll just do the Harry Holt out of here. Okay, so let's have a look at that again. And the bag stops. You are a clever boy, Stanley. You know why he's so clever? Because he can turn that bag off. When he turns and looks at it, it's like magic. So we're getting him confident. Now this exercise is not going to make your horse spook-free, but it does give them an idea about how to handle a spook. Rather than gallop across away from it, they might think to do that and think, I know the answer's there. Okay, and that gives you time to gather yourself and control it. Control your horse rather than be sort of, oh my God, out of control heading in. Okay. Just looking, ear on. Let's turn him and have a look. Well done, Stanley, you clever boy. You just turn that off again. Okay. Try again, left to right. Let's turn him and face him. He's getting a bit too used to this, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to ask Tom just to work him a little bit till he starts to look. So let's try the other side. There. Now his first reaction there was different to every other time. Did everyone notice that? He didn't go away. He went too. Tom very cleverly noticed this step and stopped. So we're starting to get Stan thinking about not actually first reaction run, first reaction look, investigate, stay rational. Okay, let's have another look. See what he's like on the left side. He doesn't even want to move. Keep going, Tom. Just walk to his hind quarter a little bit. Lift it up. Lift it up. Well, there you go. Okay. Okay, he's getting a bit too used to that. What I would like to see him do is get a little bit worried and turn and face it. So whenever he gets worried, turn and face. That's the idea of this exercise. So this side, he's completely stopping. He's just going, I'm just going to stand here. This side, he's still slightly thinking about it. Let's see what he does this time. All right? I'm going to just follow you. Okay. Okay, where you go, Tom. He's starting to think, I know where to go. Okay, I'm going to follow this guy. Or not do anything at all. Okay, keep going, Tom. Make him do something so he has to move. I want him to move. Lift it up a little bit. I want him to move almost of his own accord. Just step up, out, up there. Nothing. Does that not irritate you, Stanley? It irritates me. Just turn and look at it and turn it off for me. Okay. So that little exercise there, we'll leave that. That little exercise there gives you an idea on, or is a very good exercise if your horse is one of those horses that first reaction is to run and take off. Okay, if you can teach them to face their fears, then you're going to have a lot more time to be able to get your horse back under control, and your horse is going to get that moment of, it's not